I think you posted like a screenshot or something of like your area, and it was just like pins on top of pins on top of pins.
Slow weekend, what we call now, is over 100 events.
You have a ton of generators as well, right?
Yeah, like 50. Every time they get an oil change, put a new date on them. Because the worst thing you want to do is, go to a church or school event, all your stuff powered by generators, and your generators go down.
Do you guys travel out of state?
For larger events that have, 5,000, 10,000 people. We do everything from a single unit backyard party all the way up to 50,000.
Down season type things. How do you handle that?
We have 500 inflatables. Winter is pop up every single unit. Deep clean, make sure it's perfect.
Yeah. Hi everybody, Julio with JumpOrange. Welcome to another episode of the JumpOrange podcast. Today we have a very special guest. I would like to introduce you to Michael Bissell. He's with Bounce House of Atlanta out of Alpharetta, is it?
Yep, Alpharetta, Georgia.
Alpharetta, Georgia. Michael, welcome to the episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on board, man. I know that it's Monday. I'm surprised that you're not, back home.
Monday is my day off. So
is it really?
Yep, I'm lucky about
Nice. Nice. Because, I had the luxury to be able to visit you earlier in the year, February.
Yeah, at the Event Pro Summit. You came and joined us. Yep.
And your facility, the facility, that you and Robert put together, amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I thought we did a great job with this facility.
This place looks awesome. It really does. I got some ideas I got to take back.
Thank you. But your facility when it comes to the branding aspect of things, as soon as you walked in, the logo, boom, right away. That, badass, dude.
Thank you.
And with that being said, can you give us like a quick snapshot of like what is it the day-to-day of running such a huge operation, like when it comes to keeping track of the inventory? And when I say inventory, I'm not just talking about inflatables in general, because you guys have a lot of other things aside from inflatables. But when it comes to inventory, staff, how many staff members will you need for that weekend if you are not just doing the backyard parties but also city events? And also when it comes to the city events, how do you manage that?
So that stuff we all plan, weeks, days in advance. Due in part to some of the shipments we got from you.
Right.
We're over 500 inflatables now. And then we have 2 bays just of rides and rock walls, mechanical bulls. And we're sitting at about 63 employees right now. So managing all that, can be an undertaking, but...
to say the least.
But the plan, getting ahead of it and planning it all is where, I think we strive and do a fantastic job.
Nice.
So we've put people in the right positions where everyone can succeed.
I know that when I was at the summit, you had, there's definitely, it's about delegating.
Yes,
especially
100%.
in such a huge operation that you guys have. When it comes to obviously making sure that you plan ahead, that all the equipment is good to go, all the employees are well trained. Because I know for your rock walls, for example, you want to make sure that they're all pretty much good to go and trained
100%.
for that part, right?
Yep. So anyone that ever operates a ride for us goes through a rigorous training process.
Yeah.
And we always send out 2 operators, no matter what, with every ride. We start everyone out that we hire as a basic cleaner.
Okay.
And we tell them, it's not, we're not trying to demoralize you or anything.
Yeah.
But we want you to learn how to roll the inflatables. We want you to know what size blower goes with what unit, where the zippers are, what kind of water attachment goes with this type of slide versus that type of slide.
Of course.
So we start everyone out as a cleaner, and then we bump them up as a helper. We send you with one of our experienced drivers, go get your feet wet in the field.
Normally, helper-wise, how many do you have per delivery, for example?
So most of our routes, until we get to the summer where the water slides are, they're one-man routes.
Wow.
When we get to the bigger stuff, anything 15-foot dual lane and higher, we send out a helper with. And we try to stack those routes with the heavier stuff because we're paying two guys to be on that
And that's
truck.
a driver and a helper?
Yes, correct.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, anything 15-foot and higher, they'll get a helper in the truck with them. So once you've gone through the cleaner process, we put you out as a helper just to get your feet wet.
Of course.
Experience stuff that you don't experience in the warehouse. How to get an inflatable through a gate. You might have to flip it up or down a stair or two.
Yes.
How to drive your dolly on a hill. If you know anything about Georgia, a lot of the homes are on hills. So navigating the terrain is a huge part of the job of the drivers and the helpers. So we don't want to send out guys without experience where they're going to get stuck in a situation they don't know how to handle.
Right, 100%.
So we do a lot of training in that way. And then, managing the warehouse, we have a warehouse manager. We have a manager that manages just the rides. So putting people in positions not only where they can succeed, but where the company can succeed.
Of course.
We hire people in the hopes that they're with us for years. I know turnover in this industry is
high.
huge.
It's high. And I'm guessing in order for you to even find the people that you currently have in those positions was an undertaking on its own.
Oh, 100%.
It wasn't
100%.
something from
so you gotta,
from overnight, from overnight.
Oh, definitely doesn't happen overnight. You got to be patient when you put someone in a position.
Right.
They might not do things the
Your way.
Exactly.
And that's a point where I try to, and I think it's hard for our viewers, the fact that when this is your company, this is your baby, and things like that. So in order for you to sometimes let go, it's difficult.
Oh, 100%.
And sometimes being like, well, I could have rolled it maybe this way, but hey, you still got it nice.
It's back to the warehouse. It's back in the shop.
It's
exactly.
perfect. It's not damaged.
As a boss, that is huge. A learning curve for you.
Yeah.
That if you put someone in a position, you need to be able to trust them.
Right.
First off, they might not do it right the first time, the first 10 times, but until they find their way, until they get their feet wet, you got to trust the process.
Yes.
So when we hire people, we hire a lot of high school, college kids, helpers, cleaners. But in the hopes, for every 10 that we hire, we hope that a few stay with us for years.
Right.
That we can put them in positions to, be a manager here or lead the drivers, train new drivers.
Right.
So you're always hiring with the expectation that, I want you to start here, but I want you to grow to here.
There's room for you to grow.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And that's the best thing that you are able to, as a company, offer someone that's being employed under you.
Yeah, 100%. And, in this industry, when you join it,
right.
You think, how high can you really go? Well, I like to say our company is a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
We got guys making fantastic salaries
and
full-time jobs.
Not talking about tips, because tips alone,
they make
that's
a lot of tips.
Yeah, I remember.
They make a lot of tips.
Yes, 100%.
So we don't want it to just we don't want you to think that you're just slinging vinyl out there.
Right.
We want you to think of this. You can make this a career.
Yes.
And you can grow with us. So that's a huge selling point when we're bringing on new employees.
Nice. Now, when it comes to the delivery aspect of things, with not only the inflatables but the mechanical rides, or even doing the backyard deliveries, city events, how do you process that? Like, what type of system do you guys use as far as like, hey, we have so many backyard parties, we have these big events. We need to make sure the deliveries are right, and also the staff is right as well.
Exactly. So the ride manager, he has a list of all his big events coming up, and he knows when he's going to be traveling with those, and he's got his own crew. But sometimes when there's inflatables involved, people get shifted. But that's stuff we do plan weeks ahead. So we use Inflatable Office as our software.
Cool.
And we do all our routing in there as well. So I usually start working on that at least a week in advance. I like to know how many guys I need to be able to bring in. Do I need to call in our reserves?
Right. I think I remember one of the posts. I think you posted like a screenshot or something of like your area, and it was just like tons of pins in one specific area. It was like pins on top of pins on top of pins. It's wild.
It's a slow weekend. What we call now is over 100 events still.
Wow.
We had 114 events.
For those watching, you're saying that a slow weekend for you guys, it's 100.
We had 114 this past weekend, and we were all saying how slow it was. It feels that way.
Right,
Once you've built up, these processes where we're able to push out 28 trailers in a night.
Okay.
When you go down to 20, it makes it feel slow.
Right.
When we're planning, do we have big, large city events? Do we have just a ton of backyards? That's stuff we have to look at least a week in advance. You don't want to tell guys, and unfortunately it happens a lot, hey, tomorrow you got to work at 6 a.m.
Right.
A lot of, that's the nature of the business, though.
Yeah.
Events change quickly.
The thing is with this type of industry, it's a lot of that, a lot of being able to manage with just the fast pace of changing things.
Yep.
That's
when I was sitting at the airport the other day,
Yeah.
Just looking at all the the cars that carry the luggage, the buses, the planes moving around. I feel like I was thinking, well, this is what our warehouse looks like. We got 3 forklifts moving here, trucks, trailers flying everywhere.
Well, it comes down to just being a dance. That's pretty much what it is.
We are a choreographer of a dance, 100%. Right. And my job is just to make that dance look as good as possible. Will there be mistakes? 100%. Happens at the
Happens all the
smallest
time.
companies. Happens at some of us at the larger companies.
Right, 100%.
It's how you navigate those issues
Mm-hmm.
is how successful you can be.
Right. Right. Because, sometimes from small scale to larger scale, you may miss a thing here or there, but it's the nature of the beast.
No matter how many processes you put in place, how many fail-safe, options you put out there,
Right.
something will fall through the cracks. And it's how that message goes from the driver or the customer all the way up to where it needs to be.
100%.
And I tell my guys, there's 3 rings before you have to get to me for an issue. I don't need to know about every little thing.
Right.
Go to the person that needs to know. They'll report back to me if I need to know.
Right. Maintenance of the equipment, repairing the equipment, making sure that everything's just good to go for the weekend, the month. How do you go about that?
So we have a flag system. So every unit that goes out and comes back gets a red flag. Red flag means dirty.
I remember that.
Yep. Red flag means dirty. If it goes out and there's an issue, needs a repair, gets a white flag. You write on that white flag what it needs. A lot of the repairs we can do in-house. Otherwise, they get not shipped. They get sent up to our repair guy.
Gotcha.
Once a unit is clean, gets a green flag. Put back on the shelf. The shelves are organized for the most part. We've added a lot of inflatables, so it's hard to keep shifting.
Right.
But it's organized in category, bounce houses, combos. So you go down the line. Once you get your feet wet, you learn our warehouse pretty quickly. So everyone knows where everything is. There's a label on the shelf of what unit is what.
Right.
And we have multiples of every unit.
Yeah. No. Well,
so
sure.
If something does happen, we either have a backup, or we contact the customer. Hey, I'm sorry, but the zipper on this is not working correctly. I don't want to send it out. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Will you take this 18-foot slide instead of the one you had? Or a lot of times we'll upgrade you to a 20-foot.
Nice.
So we do that. Our ride guy, he also does any repairs in the warehouse and any maintenance, mechanicals, stuff like that. One of our newer managers, he's great with trucks.
Nice.
Yep. So he can work on the trucks, or we have mechanic right at the top of the street.
Or even, for example, like you have a ton of generators as well, right?
We have like 50 generators. It's crazy.
So it's pretty much being able to just keeping track. Coming back to you have the right person for the right job.
Exactly. So everyone knows what they're supposed to do, and that in itself is a whole job.
Yeah.
Just getting,
of course.
Whether it's you're hiring new people or making acquisitions, which we have, and you're bringing on new team members who've had different positions at that company, but now we're going to change within our company.
They have to adjust to the way way you do things, of course.
So that does take time. We have that flag system. Anything that's going on for repair, we can mark that in IO under the maintenance status, so it can't get booked. The generators all have a label on them, and then every time they get an oil change, which we try to do once a month on all our generators, they put a new date on them.
Nice.
So it shows when the last time it was had a fresh oil change.
And things like that.
Because the worst thing you want to do is go to a church or school event and have all your stuff powered by generators and your generators go down.
Right. Or you see the black smoke.
Exactly. And then your whole event is shot.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys travel out of state, or do you guys just keep...
We do for larger events. We're not going to go out of state for a backyard party.
Of course.
Corporate events that have 5,000, 10,000 people. Yeah. We do everything from a single unit backyard party all the way up to 50,000 employee corporate events.
Wow, man.
So we're experienced in, just managing backyards, and then we're experienced, managing...
On a corporate level.
Yeah. 4 rides plus 10 inflatables. So those do take more planning. There's hotels involved, travel, and so just planning ahead is where we really do a great job.
Now, as far as... Because right now it's summer, booming time. Aside from if it rains, separate. But right now you guys are just full-on busy. Right, and it's only going to get busier. When it comes to having a large operation like yourself, you have employees on salary, you have the hourly. When it comes to the downside, like down season type things, how do you handle that aspect of that?
Well, that's the $1 million question for the industry.
Right.
I don't think anyone's solved it, perfectly yet.
Because even here in Florida, for example, right, in their down season, you still got some companies that rent out during, let's say, November, December, January. Some companies that's completely everything's halted.
Yep.
but other ones are still kind of going here and
there.
there.
So there's many ways to go about that. And last year we dove more into the holiday themed inflatables, and that was fantastic for us. Worked very well. So those were nice little pick me ups. I know a lot of companies dive into Christmas lights.
Yeah.
We did as well, but for a company our size, when we have 500 inflatables, winter is pop up every single unit.
Maintenance time.
Deep clean, make sure it's perfect. Yeah. Any repairs happen over winter. We do tell our guys, you're going to work very hard in the summer.
Yeah.
You're going to work more than 40 hours most likely. In the winter, we expect 25, maybe 30. We like to try to give you your time back in the winter.
Right.
Is there a job that still needs to be done? Absolutely. Another question, about slow months is what do you do, with all your hourly employees? We don't like to fire. We don't want to we don't want to lay our guys off for the winter.
Right.
That hurts them, that hurts their families, hurts us as a business because if they don't want to come back, if they don't want to come
time too.
If they don't want to come back in March, then we're retraining somebody.
Right.
So we eat, their pay all through winter, and that's something we do plan.
Of course.
All year long. You got to start stashing away to make it through winter. Hiring and retraining is going to cost us just as much as
100%.
Breaking our team up. That we've spent so many months, weeks, hours trying to build.
Yeah.
Try to build this perfect machine. It doesn't make sense to break it up every winter.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that part because once you have like an A team that you just watch them, they don't communicate, and I've had sometimes customers, they tell me their stories where they're like, hey, they showed up, they dance. They get feedback from the people that rent it. Say, wow, you guys didn't communicate at all.
Yeah, our guys
just showed up.
At pickups, the guys don't talk.
Yeah,
if you have a helper, that the helper knows. Helper goes stakes.
Yes.
Blower, cord, then help roll the unit because it's heavy.
And that's the thing that a lot of people are like, wow, like it was just. I mean, let's say for example, it's a 19-footer, and then within 30 minutes, boom, broke down.
Gone.
That's it.
Yep, back on the truck.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys want to get home. I don't blame them.
Right. Yeah.
So just synchronize your dance. The less talking might even be the better sometimes. When you're a smaller operator, trying to keep employees over winter, it just might not be financially possible.
Right.
And I get it. But when you get to a size that, your guys are consistent, they're not just seasonal help, you can't break that up.
Right.
It will hurt you in the long term because in your first month or two of the season, it's retraining, and that's where all your issues come in. And that's you're giving refunds or discounts.
On top of anything else that comes up.
Mm-hmm, right? Exactly. Keeping 36,000 square foot of warehouse clean is also...
man.
They got a...
No, that's true.
Winter's a lot of cleaning. We
of course.
We polish the floors, and anything...
Anything to keep them busy. It's one of those
things
busy
work, but it also, a clean area in February makes for March better when we start getting busier.
You have hundreds of inflatables. Mm-hmm. If you needed to go ahead and start all over again, right, what would be the 3 inflatables, right? You don't need to focus on manufacturers. Mm-hmm. I know you would get them from JumpOrange. But 3 inflatables that that you get them, and when the season picks up, you already know you can scale up. What would be the 3 inflatables?
I would probably do 2 wet-dry combos.
Okay.
Because, all summer long, people are going to use them wet, but those are also great in the spring and the fall as dry.
Deep or the inflatable splash pools?
We've really kind of turned to inflatable splash pools, creating a flood in someone's backyard.
Right.
Just not something we like. My 3rd unit would probably be a slide with an inflatable.
Single or dual?
Dual, obviously.
Right.
Whatever you can afford.
Okay.
Actually.
What size? 15, 18, 19?
18 is probably your sweet spot.
Okay. Nice.
15 is a great renter.
But then you get the ones that are like, hey, I want something bigger.
You got something bigger. 18 is a very good sweet spot. It's good for younger kids. It could help your teens. Maybe more neutral.
Neutral colors.
So if you do have a fall festival that needs a slide,
it still fits within their theme aspect of things.
Nothing crazy themed. But a lot of that's also going to depend on where you're located.
Of course.
If you're up in Ohio versus like down here,
it's different.
I mean, everything down here from March until November, it has to be a wet unit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's baking. It's too hot for the kids to play on.
Anything, for example, Florida. I would say so. Florida, Texas, Arizona. I mean, some of the hotter states. So you definitely want to have like a deep pool.
So when you're smaller and you're trying to scale, you really do have to think about where you're located, what my seasons are, and what units will best
suit you for that area.
Yep.
Really appreciate you coming here, giving us some of your time,
Absolutely.
sharing your knowledge. On the this podcast episode with Jump Orange. Go ahead and let the people know. Go ahead and plug in your company, where they can find you, if anything like that.
Well, Bounce House Atlanta and our recently acquired Jumptastic. We're based in Alpharetta, Georgia. Find us on Facebook. Find me on Facebook. Any questions, feel free to reach out. We love helping.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.